Welcome to the Krista Redpath Show, where sports take center stage and stories come to life. I'm Krista, your host, veteran analyst and passionate storyteller, bringing you in-depth conversations and sharp analysis across the world of sports, all through a female lens. Today's proud sponsor is Ryan Miller and Coburn Trial Attorneys, your full-service law firm based in Missoula, Montana. Whether you've been injured in an auto accident or you've been charged with a crime, their team will provide you with state-of-the-art representation. Ryan Miller and Coburn, your Montana trial attorneys. Visit rmcattorneys.com or call 406-542-2233. Welcome to the Krista Redpath Show. Today, I am thrilled that we are joined by Jace Henderson, Billings, Montana native and current assistant women's basketball coach at the University of Utah. A three-sport athlete at Billings Senior, Jace was a volleyball standout, winning back-to-back state championships and also earning Gatorade Player of the Year in both 2012 and 2013. She began her college career at the University of Montana on a volleyball scholarship, but after just one season, basketball was in her heart and future. Jace made the decision to change sports directions and join the Lady Griz basketball team. Jace was 3 times the most inspirational player, 2-time MVP, and earned all-conference second team her senior season, averaging 12 points and 9 rebounds a game. Jace launched her coaching career at Montana and then joined Nebraska in 2022, rising from graduate assistant manager to director of player personnel development and influence. Now she is bringing her passion and leadership to the Utes in her first season in Salt Lake City. Welcome, Jace. It's so good to have you on the podcast.
I'm so excited, Krista. Thanks for having me.
So why don't you tell our listeners and our viewers just about what you're up to? I mean, that was a big jump from Lincoln, Nebraska to Salt Lake City, Utah. How is Salt Lake?
I love it. Yeah, it's been such a fun kind of new chapter, and I really learned as I moved to Lincoln, Nebraska, just that like there's so many great places to get to coach the game of basketball, and there's just this really cool community around women's sports right now. And so to be in Salt Lake City, to hear just like the excitement that they have around the women's program there, and just getting to work with that staff, like it's been really fun, and it's been nice to be back in the mountains too. That's like a little piece of home that I was missing, so it's been really good.
So Jace, you're born in Helena, you spent 5 years in Dillon, and then I pretty much call you a Billings native. But growing up in Billings, can you talk about that with your siblings, your parents, what it was like to grow up on the eastern side of Montana?
Yeah, I loved my just childhood. I was so fortunate. My family is all like my cousins and my aunts and uncles, and both my grandparents lived close to Billings. So like I got to grow up having family in the stands, which was really cool. My older sister played college basketball for my dad, so I got to watch that experience, and she's been like one of my biggest role models. So just to kind of have that in front of me was always like a good representation of what sports can kind of take, where it can take you. And I also just had 2 younger brothers who I just lugged around everywhere with me. So it was great. And Billings is like very competitive when it comes to a lot of different sports. And I loved that I just felt like it challenged me. There was lots of really solid athletes in the area, and I built kind of a fun community here with a lot of the people that are my age in the different sports. And even like on the men's side, Kendall Manuel, who played for the Griz for a couple of years, like we were friends out of high school. And so it's just like there's a lot of support around here for high school sports. So that was fun.
So are there a couple of favorite spots in Billings that you like to frequent that are nostalgic for you, like favorite childhood pastimes?
Yeah, so many of them like are different now. Softies, the little soft serve ice cream spot that's over on the west side of town. Being a senior grad, we didn't always go over there, but that one has probably been my favorite. Like I come home and I just crave a softies cone.
Isn't it so funny? I mean, being a Great Falls girl, we have certain things from the east side to the west side of Great Falls, very divided with your neighborhood and where you grew up and which school you went to. So it sounds like
Mhm.
there was a little bit of that in Billings too.
Oh, totally. I was really good friends with Taylor Edwards, IRAM, and she talks about the CMR Great Falls High rivalry all the time, and it is similar. It's just funny how like West and Senior, like we try to claim that like we're the best rivalry, and then you have Laurel and Central, and so there's lots of heated rivalries around here, and I always just like I love a good rivalry. That's like fun to me. I love that stuff.
I know, I think it really is. And that also just shows sports in Montana. There's a lot of really
Mm.
amazing high school rivalries on down to Bobcat Grizz, which is a staple in the state of Montana. Let's talk a little bit about volleyball, Jace. So that led you in high school to back state championships. What was the connection for volleyball? Did Jeff Carroll have an early influence on you? I know he had a lot of success with Billings Senior. Was that something that you really looked up to and wanted to play to be a Billings Senior Bronc? I know that their volleyball program is very storied.
Yeah, yeah. It obviously was just so cool to watch the success that they had had before I came into high school. And so, yeah, I wanted to be a part of championships. And I was so fortunate coming into high school. He switched me positions. I was a middle blocker, and he just talked to me a lot about kind of personality wise. He thought I was, would enjoy being a setter and enjoy the challenge of being a leader. And I think that's something I'm so grateful that he saw in me and kind of challenged me to like always keep striving for more. That was something that was on the back of our shirts was just good enough never is. And so just like staying very hungry about your own journey and very impressionable for me early because I think that's something that's like when you're a competitive spirit, you naturally compare. And so it was really good. We just had this culture of like we have to be us every day, and I think that set really high standards.
Well, Jeff Carroll is just a name that is just really known throughout the whole state. I got a chance to actually play for him in the East West All-Star volleyball game in high school.
Oh,
He coached us.
cool.
I stayed in Billings for a week and
Yeah,
got to play with Linda Weiler and Heather Dolan, two standout Billings Senior Broncs.
yeah.
Fabulous volleyball and basketball careers. Heather Dolan went on to play at Montana State. But I just got a taste of it, and I thought, gosh, I would absolutely love to play for someone like Coach Carroll.
He's super competitive. He's never gonna coach a rep different. Like he's never gonna take something off. And so that was like just so good for us. We had a really solid just class above me, class below me, and we all were so close. So I think like it was great that we had a leader who like just pushed us to be our best selves. And I didn't know that you did the All-Star game. What position were you?
Oh, I was a middle hitter, middle
Yep.
blocker, and played a little back row. We did so much pickup
Yeah.
volleyball at the
Yeah.
university when I played. I mean, Jace, I was playing back in the dark ages compared to your years, but we were all volleyball players. And I think that volleyball really came on later in the state of Montana.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of availability,
Yeah.
but we just loved it. And so when Coach Dick Scott had the University of Montana volleyball program. Again, before your time, I worked volleyball camps. I worked Hellgate volleyball
Wow.
camps in college. And so, yeah, I mean, just really
That's
fun.
awesome.
Yeah, so it was really great to have that volleyball community.
Yeah, it did come on to like I would agree with you, and I think there are just staple coaches in the communities that or like from my experience just watching the growth of the game in the state and like the priorities that high school coaches are making to give opportunities to players and just more open gyms and more different ways for people to get an in and play. I have a friend who's the head coach at Lockwood who I played high school ball with at senior, and just ran into a former player or a former person I played against in high school who's the head coach at West High now. And it's just so cool to see my generation now coaching and what they're trying to do to keep moving the game forward like people like that did for us. And so I'm glad it's catching because it's a cool sport. It's a really cool sport.
So, how about basketball in Billings? I mean, I know your mom, Lynn Ann, was a player, your dad, Brian, coach, a staple coach at Rocky Mountain in Billings. Um, was basketball always part of your upbringing? And was that just something that just was a given all of your family success?
Yeah, it definitely was. We grew up, my dad would run NBC camps in the summer with his like college camps. So I literally ran basketball camp from like middle of June to the end of July, like just as a kid. I like still have just like probably my most childhood memories are on a basketball court of coaching camp and like the little mantras that we had, like how's your PMA, which is your positive mental attitude. And so like then everybody would go crazy. Like that's a staple in our house. Like my parents just talk through coaches talk all the time. And so basketball was kind of something that brought us all together. We all ran camp and that was super special and something that was hard when I went to college, not having in my life anymore because I had just always seen myself as a basketball player more so, even though I think naturally I had maybe had higher opportunities at the volleyball level.
Today, we are joined by Jace Henderson, a Billings, Montana native. Today's proud sponsor is Ryan Miller and Coburn Trial Attorneys, your full service law firm based in Missoula, Montana. Whether you've been injured in an auto accident or you're being charged with a crime, their team will provide you with state of the art representation. Ryan Miller and Coburn, your Montana trial attorneys. Visit rmcattorneys.com or call 406 542 2233. So we've talked a little bit about your volleyball and basketball careers in Billings, but the initial commitment to the University of Montana for volleyball, was that a hard decision? Because I know you were being recruited for both sports. Can you talk just some about the recruiting process? What other schools were looking at you? And it seems like you had more of a decision to decide between sports versus which school you were going to go to.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I think I had so much more interest early in from volleyball coaches. So I started to like wonder if that's what I should do for myself at a higher level. Just being like a taller setter, I had opportunity to just, especially being a three-sport athlete, that's something as coaches, like recruiting a kid, you think that, you know, there's this upside then that once they spend just all their time towards one sport, it's
Mhm.
just gonna that growth is gonna happen pretty quickly. And so I just saw like a ton of different kind of Midwest schools reaching out. Colorado State was like a school I was really interested in. I went to some camps. It was kind of like all across the board, everywhere from like kind of similar schools to like Montana and then some Midwest schools. And I really thought I was going to go to Colorado State in high school. And then as I got closer and closer to my senior year of volleyball, getting kind of like spring of my junior year, I was like, wow, like I don't know if I want to leave this state. Like I really love just we grew up down the road where people were just coming to high school volleyball games and packing the place. And so I was like, I don't know if I want to leave kind of this cool community I have with my family and some friends. So I took a visit to the University of Montana and I decided as I was on my visit, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to pick based on the school. I'm not going to pick based on the sport. I'm going to pick based on the place that fits me the best. And so when Coach Wagner and I were walking through campus, I just fell in love with being underneath the mountains and the river and the community of Missoula. I had always kind of felt like I was a Griz. Like my whole family are cats. So I also just like really liked the idea of going against the grain and being the different one.
Well, that's pretty interesting too. Both my high school coaches were Bobcats. My mom graduated from Montana State. So I
Yep.
feel like a little bit too also of, okay, there's a different world over in Missoula. But that's
Yeah.
the best advice is to find the school that fits for you and the community versus, necessarily looking at what it could be if the sport was removed. After kind of going through the
Right.
recruitment process with my son, that was a question that we would ask too, is like, where could you see yourself going to school? Where do you want to be a
Yeah.
part of it?
Yeah, it is. So sports is by far the most time you spend on that campus is with your teammates and with your staff. And so obviously those are huge elements, but like I just knew that I've always seen myself as so much more than just a basketball player or just a volleyball player. And if I didn't have those other pieces, like I wasn't going to feel like I was in the right place for me. And just being able to be present and like in a place that you just wake up every day feeling grateful to be there like matters. So I Missoula hit me like a rock. Like I really didn't know I loved it so much until I spent some time there and it was kind of a really good fit. And then it's just crazy how God works and how he got me on the basketball court.
Well, so you're playing under Coach Wagner, great coach. You've got this really phenomenal volleyball team and experience that you're starting, but something was drawing you to basketball. Were you playing pickup games? Did you meet some basketball players where you're like, wow, I just feel more drawn towards basketball at the college level?
Yeah, I got to know some of the basketball players while I was like a freshman. That was a piece of it was I just felt like I really connected to them and I had really close friends on the volleyball team too, but I just kept feeling like I am watching these basketball games and I can't help myself but think I'm supposed to be out there. And I would just spend time off the court hearing more and more about Coach Rob. And because I committed so early, a lot of coaches in the basketball side of the world said that they had plans to recruit me my senior year. Like my growth kind of, my trajectory in high school kind of allowed me later to probably be getting looks, but I'd already committed. And so that was kind of when I started to poke around and see if there'd be any interest in me playing basketball and just walking on even. That's kind of when Coach Shannon said to me, like, well, we planned to recruit you your senior year, but you already decided on volleyball. And so, yeah, it just kind of worked out then after I started to ask some questions after our season got done. And gosh, it would have been like late November. I reached out in December and just kind of asked if they would be okay with me trying to walk on in the spring. And yeah, and then it just kind of went like that. And part of it was my head coach for the team, Jerry Wagner, um, was let go. And so he decided to do some other things and he went other places. And so when your head coach leaves and stuff, there's just lots of moving pieces. And I was like, no, I'm supposed to play basketball here. It was a God thing. It really was.
So you played for two different coaching staffs. You were recruited primarily during the Robin Selvig era. We can say that now because it's in the past.
Mm-hmm.
You played for a year for him and then 3 seasons under Shannon Schwain. Spent 1 year as a GA for Shannon and then a full assistant in that interim year under Mike Petrino. So here's the thing. Everyone says this, Jace. Rob has mellowed over the years. Every player that comes after is like, oh, he was so much easier on you than he was on me. I hear it from everyone. What are your memories of playing for Coach Selvig?
I had so many great ones. Like I had not played over a year of basketball, so I was rusty coming in. And I remember one practice, like I couldn't catch the ball to save my life. And he said, "This is not volleyball. You catch the ball with 2 hands. Quit dropping it." And like I just remember being like, I know I'm really trying, but it's not working. I don't know what's wrong. Um, it was things like that that I laugh at. And but I think he had a great awareness of like me coming in, being a kid that was going to be a utility player, kind of just, push people as a practice person. And he kept my morale really high. Like he didn't stop coaching me, which I loved. Like he pushed me. And I remember my first time going in, to a game, I think we were up probably 30 or so. And I'm going in for Alicia Sims and he tells me to go in. I forget my top, like my warm up top. And so the girls are like, Jace, your warm up, your warm up. So I just go to throw it off and throw it under the bench. And I threw it directly under Rob's feet as he was walking. And he just slipped into the other assistant coaches on the bench. And I'm just sitting there at the middle of the scores table looking at our staff like I just took out Rob. Like, am I supposed to go in or am I supposed to sit back down? Because I
This is the best
can't believe
story.
that it was so embarrassing. And it was just stuff like that. Like I had a lot of freshman moments and he made fun of me for him and I loved it. Like he just made it enjoyable. He made me laugh a lot my 1 year with him. So I was so grateful to get that time with him.
He's so funny because he really threw people into the games, like literally. And if you were on the bench when the person that you were playing the same position was out on the court, he was talking to you like he was mad at that person, like you had
Yeah.
something to do with it. It's like, well, put me in.
Yeah.
I'm over here on the bench. But when he put people in, it was an intense moment.
Oh
So
yeah, and it was to your point, like he's over here telling me like stuff about rebounding or like any critique he has of the people out there, but it was gonna take a while before I was out there my freshman year. And so like I would be like, "Yep, I don't know. Yep, you want me to tell them or you actually saying to me because I know I'm not going in for a while." So he just yeah, he was so funny. His mannerisms on the side.
I think a very unique part of playing for the Lady Griz is the freshman to senior relationship. I know that the seniors that played when I was younger, Carla Beatty Canine, Sherry Brooks McWilliams, Malia Kipp, they were so influential in my basketball career. Now you came in under the leadership of Kaylee Valley. Can you talk about that senior to freshman relationship and what that does for confidence building?
Oh, it's huge. I talk as a coach, you know, you're always kind of mentioning how your seniors and your upperclassmen, they set the standard of what your program represents and introduce those things to, you know, your underclassmen, your newcomers. And so coming in behind just such hard workers, people that, you know, just knew what it took to win. Like I felt like that was so influential to me. Um, yeah, and just like the competitive spirit that like Kate Val had was just awesome. It was so fun to get to watch her just get in a groove every game because it looked just like practice. Like it wasn't any different from just her ability to show up and grind and just play each play really hard. So I think that was just a big credit to her and also kind of the people she had learned from. I thought that was passed down and hopefully continues, you know, to be passed down. I've seen that a lot just throughout all the eras of Lady Griz is just that grittiness.
We oftentimes remember teams by their banners, and I've been really proud of the teams that I played on, but these friendships extend so much further than the basketball court. Can you tell me what your teammates meant to you, and do you keep up with any of them today? I know you do. I mean, I'm in like probably 5 different group texts for all the different eras that I played in. I
Yeah.
assume it's very similar for you. Can you talk about some of those influential teammates and how you keep up with them today?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm so blessed. I just had the best people around me and I've been in two of their weddings the last 2 years, Gabby Harrington and Emma Stockholm.
Lovely ladies.
Such great people. Love them. They're competitive. They're funny. They're just the most loyal. Like they just show up. They just show up in every part of my life whenever I need them. Friends that, you know, just make you understand that they're going to be there in the hard moments and they're going to make you laugh when you need it. I'm still keep in touch with Sammy Fatkin, who's in Missoula, and Carmen G. Feller, who's going to be, you know, a high school coach now and a teacher, and just so many different girls from each years of my time. And it's just cool to watch all of them like go down different paths, but like also support each other, even like with my time in Nebraska. Like I was so far away, different time zones. I still had just like multiple times where they're sending me messages throughout the good and the hard moments, like on Jesse's, you know, birthday. Like that's a hard day sometimes. And I have 20 different former players that, you know, teammates that just love on me. And not a lot of people get that much of a community around you in those moments. So I definitely have a big shout out to the people I played with.
We really need to bring up Jesse and what an amazing person he was to you and to all of Grizz Nation. I know my son recently committed to play for the Grizz, and part of his inspiration
Mhm.
was training with Jesse out at Thaler Gym and learning from him. And he really instilled that hard work in this next generation. Still have a Jesse Sims signed poster up in his bedroom.
Mm,
Can
I
you
love that.
I know it's so sweet that his legacy lives on for these young kids that they want to. He wants to be a 37. Evan wants to be like Jesse.
Yeah,
Can you talk just a
good.
little bit about that legacy?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's just crazy that he still impacts the person that I am today every single day. And, you know, something he and I talked about as we first really got to know each other was like how inspiring it is to be with a partner that, you know, every day, you know, their intention is to show up for people, is to work as hard as they can and to just appreciate like where they're at. And I just saw that so much in every single relationship he had. It didn't matter if it was someone above him with more power, if it was a younger kid, if it was, his sisters and his family. Like, he just always really showed up to treat people with respect. And I really try to, hold that close to my heart. Is something that we get lost in the mix of life and the busyness and all the things. And we can forget like how impactful we can be just by being present with people and looking them in the eyes and just telling them that we believe in them. And I love the coach he was. It just was so fun to watch him continue to encourage the next generation that just showing up each day and working really hard is going to matter. And to come from somebody who had done some really cool things in their life, and he just made it seem so, not simple, but just that, it's about the work, it's about the mentality that you have, and starting there made me really proud to be around him every day. He made me a better human.
Life is so much about relationships, and it really shapes who we are as people as we grow through our various different phases of life.
Yeah.
I am joined by Jace Henderson, Billings, Montana native, former Lady Griz. Today's show is brought to you by Ryan Miller and Coburn. Fighting a personal injury case could be challenging. At Ryan Miller and Coburn, your personal injury attorneys in Missoula, Montana, they will work with you to pursue compensation for your pain and suffering, connecting clients to justice. Your fight is their fight. Defending your freedom. Visit rmcattorneys.com to learn more. Love having you, Jace, on this show. Can you talk about some of the lessons that you learned from your time as a Lady Griz?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. There's a couple. I think everyone's life experiences are obviously different based on like what you go through. And I think my time coming from someone who didn't play very much and coming off the bench and just like owning a role there, but staying hungry to want to just impact our team in whatever way needed, like that taught me a lot about myself as a human. When life gets continually harder as you get older, you got to know that you've got that fight in you, and that you can just continue to learn through failures and learn through the hard. And so I think that was just a big piece of being a Lady Griz, is I had those people around me that wanted to be great and wanted to push me to be my best, and still sit there in those like hard moments and enjoy it, and still like celebrate even just the little successes that come to getting to the big ones. And so I think just those would be the two things. It's just like learning in the hard moments in life, like continuing to persevere, and just how important community is, and just surrounding yourself with really positive support is just so important to where you want to get to.
Today, I am thrilled that we are joined by Jace Henderson, Billings, Montana native and current assistant women's basketball coach at the University of Utah. So Jace, you got your degree in organizational communication. You got a master's in public administration, but coaching, was that always inherently wired into what you wanted to do? So as you're wrapping up your coaching career, was it, I've always known I wanted to be a coach because of my family and because of where I've gone with this wonderful game? Or was it something that you decided once you finished playing?
I did always think that I was going to be a college basketball coach, which is hilarious that I chose volleyball then, because it's like probably didn't go together. But that changed so much in my life. When I first started coaching, I was just so fortunate to get to be around Mike Petrino and his work ethic and the way he empowers people around him. Like, he is just one of those special people who really knows how to listen to people's hearts. And that's so cool. And I honestly look back at that time and I'm like, I wish I could have soaked up more from him, because you're just so young and you're just trying so hard to be great at what you're given. And so I think like in my early coaching career, I think I was so motivated to be the coach I thought I saw in myself since I was little. And then after Jesse died, I had to take a really big step back and just think about like how I wanted to be a healthy individual and be in a space that when I'm coaching and I'm teaching these messages about life, that I believe it. and that I believe in just that there's so many beautiful things about the world. And that wasn't something like that just came right back after he died. I had some anger. I had some stuff I had to work through, and I'm just grateful. Like, I think the game of basketball, the community, I learned so much at Nebraska, and just under Coach Williams, and how she brings, the life messages into the locker room. And so I think my trajectory in coaching, my decisions, and what I see for my goals have changed so much, because now I feel like this is such an avenue to show up for young women and to help them believe in themselves. And I'm a very competitive person, and I want to win every game that we have on our schedule. I just know that there's an avenue to keep it about the people, and we can win. And it's definitely just a huge shift in my perspective of coaching, but I'm blessed to have it, because it definitely has helped me in the hard moments too.
So playing for the Lady Griz, you were able to play in front of some fantastic crowds. As you coached at Montana, you know how Lady Griz fans really show up and show out. But as you made that move to Nebraska, they are also a program that draws really well and experienced a lot of success. In that 2023-2024 year, Nebraska captured that first NCAA win against Texas A&M as a number 6 seed and finished with a 20-win season. Behind that, the fantastic play of Jazz Shelley. I think she's just a phenomenal player. What was it like to coach a top-notch player like her?
Yeah, she's just such an incredible human. To have the courage to leave your home, country, to go all the way across the world at 16 or at 17 years old. She had actually been a part of a school that she had left her home even sooner. So her maturity was just really strong. And so her perspective of why she wanted to be coached so hard just really made her that elite player. Like, she just took coaching really well. She wanted to be better. She was hungry. She just leaned into all the little things that come from making a great team. She was a fifth-year senior and could have poo-pooed her relationship with freshmen, and she didn't. She found ways to connect with everyone on her team, and bring people along. And so that's the stuff that, like, she was an incredible IQ. Oh my gosh, the girl could shoot the ball. Like, all those things that her impact on the floor was so felt, but she chose to elevate herself even more when it came to, how can I build better relationships? How can I build our culture and leave this place better than I found it, in all facets? And that's just where I give her so much credit. And she just, cool human, really cool human.
So some other standout players, obviously we need to bring up Darian White, who transferred from Montana State. I had a chance to follow her career, and she finished at Nebraska. Darian, just an explosive player. Talk about that relationship that you had with Darian.
She is so fun. It was so cool to get to watch her embrace, like, 1 year in a new place. She could have came in and just been like, the Big Sky MVP. I know what I'm doing in all these ways. And she was just like, no, how do I make a difference to make us win? And she just embraced learning in our new system, which is challenging. Like, you play 4 years somewhere very structured, high level. Benford just had done such a great job developing her. And so you come into a new program and you have to still find ways to make a difference there. And she just embraced all of it. She really was a big difference maker.
So now you decide to make the move to Utah. I have to say, what led you to Utah? I hope you're going to say Jordan Sullivan, favorite people.
I know.
And I hope she had something to do with it. But gosh, you're at the University of Utah now. So now we got to talk a little bit about that move for you.
Yeah, no, it's been so cool. Jordan called me in the spring. Definitely was my big interest right away, was just getting the chance to work with her again, because anyone that knows Jordan knows that's probably the biggest hearted person on the planet. But she's also just one of the most respected recruiters I know. She just does such a great job of building relationships in programs. And so knowing, like, the person that she was as a coach, because I got to play for her, I was like, I want to work alongside her. I want to continue to learn from her. And that's just been so fun. And when she called me, I knew that they had just went through a big coaching change, and I'd heard really cool things about Gavin as a human. And so I was excited to kind of know him more, but I didn't know him at all. I went to campus on an interview and just got to really hear his reflections of the year and where he sees the program going. And I just felt like I really aligned with that and really felt like I could get on board with where we're taking the program. I just know that there's a lot of really cool things happening in Salt Lake City and potential to make some big noise in the Big 12. So I'm really looking forward to that.
You go from the Big 10 to the Big 12, and these are definitely the super conferences where you're playing a amazing high caliber team every single outing. That certainly poses its challenges. As a coach, there are challenges that the transfer portal presents, and they are here to stay. I think there's advantageous reasons to look in the portal, and there's also you got to really watch who you're going after because of culture and a lot of things that protect your team chemistry. Can you talk about how this has maybe changed the look of college basketball and give your perspective, Jace?
Yeah, it definitely has changed. Obviously, like a record breaking year of women that entered the portal last spring. And so, you're just even like as a coach, you start to look at the season coming up and you're like, okay, what's that roster look like again? They brought in this person. They graduated this person, but they brought in this person right away. It's a lot. It's going to be a lot different in terms of like, you're not expecting the same teams each year or just a couple shifts and things. It's like, you could be playing a whole new program the next season. And I noticed that with my time at Nebraska. But in terms of how it just impacts things, I know that each program has different, fundamental or just philosophies around how they want to utilize the transfer portal. And I think there's no right or wrong. It's just kind of, I think you have to stay true to yourself as a coach and what fits kind of how you feel like you can be successful in the map of your conference and the map of your, region and some of those things. And so for me, I know at Utah, we really want to continue to build those relationships and have, some sustainability in our roster. Just having kids continuing to come back helps build that foundation of culture that we feel like builds our togetherness. And so to your point, like there is that challenge of like recruiting your own roster. I think, fortunately, I think we have a group of young women that really believe in what we're doing. And so it feels like they're bought in. And but that as a coach, you do worry about that because you've seen and you've heard some stories of people, maybe recruiting other people's rosters, and that can just be really hard. It doesn't feel maybe as fair to what we all signed up for with college athletics, but I just try to remind myself like there's always going to be something you can get worked up over like that, and it doesn't serve you any justice as a coach. Like there's a new environment in which we're in, and embracing the positives of what the transfer portal can bring. Like Lonnie White, one of our players, is returning back, and for her to just feel like she knows exactly like what she's coming back to and that that's a good fit for her, like that's a story I'm so excited to share. Even though she chose to transfer from Utah, she feels like, playing time wise, she didn't get what she, was hoping for, that junior year. So she decided that maybe, trying something different. And, now she feels like coming back to Utah is where she wants to finish. And we're so blessed to have that kid's energy and her maturity and her perspective and what she's learned in even that transferring. So I think it's situational, and I think you have to embrace the new environment a little bit to be great. So we try to keep the kids that we know are bought into what we're doing and then build on it.
So Lady White, yeah, she spent that year at Virginia Tech and then
Yeah.
so that is really a great story. When you look at last year, Utah finished 22-9. They're 13-5 in the Big 12, and they entered the tournament as the number 6 seed. I mean, that's kind of mind-boggling when you finish with that good of a record, and you're a number 6 seed. They lost in the second round to Texas Tech, 75-64. They received that at-large bid and then ended up losing to Indiana, not by a lot. And I listened to Coach Peterson express excitement about the mixture of experience and youth for this next year's team. Can you talk about what it was like, Jace, for you to come in and to meet some of these key returning players, Kira Evans, Reese Ross, Lainey White, and some of
Yeah.
these players that are key returners, but then you also have the excitement. I know Liana Sneed is a big one coming in, but maybe you can talk just a little bit about what it looks like as a coach to come in and form those relationships with players, but then also be introduced to the new players that come in.
Yeah, it was so fun. They were all just so welcoming and I'm not naive. Like they're giving a little like they size you up a bit when you are new. Like they're trying to figure you out. And I have had really great coaching mentors who remind you like just be yourself. And so I've been enjoying just like building those relationships with all of them off the court. They're just a really competitive group. They play so hard, and that's something that as a coach, like when you come into the gym and that's what's like consistent, you're like, okay, like we can do so much with that. I'm excited about, like you mentioned, some of those returners that have that experience at different places and also here at Utah. And I think that mixing in kind of some of that freshman class and the, newcomers we have, I just think that they all are taking that time to really learn how to play with each other. So I am looking forward to that, like constant learning, new preseason, I should say, those games where it's just like it's not all going to be come together in November. Like it's just not, and that's okay. I think that this group is understanding of the process. So as long as we stay true to that, we have some really great people on our team that I think the team is looking to. And so I think those guys will help us in those moments learn and grow and get us ready for February. So I'm looking forward to that.
Jace, do you have any favorite sayings or mottos that you go by in life?
Favorite sayings or mottos?
I'll tell you
I
a few of
mean,
mine. I feel like the thousandth mile journey begins with one step. You know, just something
mm,
that maybe helps you, like you just kind of turn to it. It might be your favorite quote or something in life.
yeah. I mean, I've always grown up like my dad just attitude and effort. Like it didn't matter if I had a good game or not. My parents were only going to coach those things. I was really fortunate that way. So I think just like every day I show up with kind of those consistent things in mind. But I would just like, I don't know, I would probably say figure it out. Like just, I don't know. Sometimes you just gotta figure it out. Like whether it's completely on you or someone else, or I just think being solution based is really important in life. And so I just think sometimes you just gotta figure it out, find a way.
It's kind of interesting, like control the controllables. Like
Yes.
come at me with something, but then, at least tell me what you plan to do about finding the solution.
Yes, totally. I think it's so valid to be passionate and have emotion in this beautiful game we have. But then there's like okay, what do we do with all this and move forward? Because I want to move forward. I want to get better and we don't want to stay here. So I just think that that's like been something that, I try to ground myself in.
Jace, this has been such a phenomenal hour with you. It's just flown by.
I
I could sit
know.
here and talk to you and just pick your brain and have you, answer these questions because you're so eloquent and you're everything that I believe is great about college sports, specifically women's basketball. But do you
Mm.
have any special shout outs or anything that you'd like to add to this interview?
Krista, I just appreciate so much that you followed my journey and I love that you share people's stories. I think that the women's game has grown so much through people like yourself who want to do justice by people's narrative, all the pieces, and be able to really connect fans and the people who love and appreciate the sport to the people playing and to the people coaching. And I think that's where like community is always going to be so important to me, and it takes just everyone feeling the contribution to it. And so it's honestly the thing I would just say is like that's what I thought was so powerful in my time at the Lady Griz is I was blessed to find a community of women that had played in the 90s, that played in the thousands, that played in that played
Yes.
right before I got there, Jordy, and they just know that there's a contribution to this community that I have to have, and whatever talents I bring to the table, it all looks different.
This is the community tip where we take a moment to highlight what makes Montana feel like home. I am joined by Pete Hamill, the Montana rep for Vertical Raise. Pete, welcome in.
Thanks, Krista. Nice to be here.
You have been going all around the state of Montana. You've raised over $200,000 in this last week for fundraising with high school sports. Can you talk about where you've been and what organizations you have touched in the last week?
Yeah, so I work in Hawaii also. So I was in Hawaii the first half of August and then took a red-eye flight back Sunday night, landed in Missoula on Monday, went to Helena on Tuesday, and then went to Bozeman on Tuesday, and then Wednesday went to Butte and then to Kalispell, and then came back to Missoula on Friday and did a bunch of things here. In between that, we worked with Manhattan High School. We worked with Helena Capital, the soccer program over there, Butte High football and golf. Did a fundraiser for the Flathead football team, and then kicked off a bunch of stuff at Sentinel to finish up the week, and then actually went back to Butte yesterday. So it's been a wild time.
So, Pete, you are an attorney by trade, but you have decided to embark on fundraising. Can you tell all of our listeners why you choose to take this career path?
Sure. My dad was a high school football coach for 40 years, and I kind of grew up in that environment. It feels like home to me. I was working as an attorney on Maui and didn't love parts of it. And some friends of mine started an online fundraising platform and thought it would kind of stay local, and it got bigger, and I was the only person they knew in Hawaii, so they asked me to help, and I started doing it on the side. And it wasn't long before I found that I was really enjoying my life a lot more, spending time with kids and helping them raise money for the things that I got to do when I was a kid. And my days didn't feel like work anymore. So after about a year and a half of that, made the transition to doing it full time, and it's been fantastic. I think that anytime you can find something that you really love and turn it into a career is a recipe for a lot of happiness. And I was fortunate to be able to find something like that would work, and it's been great.
So, Pete, why is fundraising such an integral part of organizations now with high school sports?
Yeah, I think that high schools just don't get the funding from federal and state levels that they used to. When we were kids, we got to do all of these things and maybe had to fundraise a little bit, but it certainly wasn't to the extent that is needed now. And when we have shortfalls, oftentimes it falls on the parents. And as we all know, this is a pretty expensive place to live, and a lot of times that's not affordable. So the cool thing with Vertical Raise is our internal stats show that about 70% of the donations to our platform are coming from outside of the community. So I think it's a really good way to bring outside money into the community while also giving people who frankly would love an opportunity to support these teams, but haven't traditionally had an avenue, a way to do that. It's grandparents that live in other states, it's aunts and uncles that live elsewhere, and all those people that want to back you up but can't get to a game now have an opportunity to be able to support. And so I think that utilizing that with some of the shortfalls that we just talked about is kind of what makes us go.
Thank you, Pete, so much for this week's community tip. Thanks as well to Jace Henderson, Billings native, former Lady Griz standout, and current assistant women's basketball coach at Utah, for the insight and for taking the time with me today. And thanks to you for listening. This week's episode of the Krista Redpath Show is brought to you by Ryan, Miller, and Coburn, your Montana attorneys. Coming up next week, a great conversation with Katie Faulkner, a former Lady Griz star who's going into her second season as the head coach of the women's basketball program at Pepperdine.